Getting there. All right. We might as well kick off for those of us that are on time. So I'd like to say hello and welcome to everyone. My name's Julian Brockhurst, and thank you for joining us this Thursday for another lunchtime session with today's topic on why accountants are as important as project managers for developments. I appreciate everyone's super busy and it's a short lunch break, so we'll jump straight in. So firstly, I'd like to introduce our guest for today, Jayden. Jayden is a chartered accountant specialising in the areas of debt advisory and business restructuring. With over 10 years of experience, Jayden assists clients with debt and restructuring needs across a variety of industries, including agriculture, real estate, private funds, hospitality, civil construction, and aviation. So welcome, Jayden.
Thanks, Julian. Pleasure to be here.
Nice. So, mate, the title of today's webinar might raise a few eyebrows across the industry. Maybe a few project managers on the call today. So, I mean, why don't you break down some of the main areas someone like BDO can make as much of an impact as project managers?
Yeah, so straight to the crux of it. Thanks, mate. Put me in the deep end. I don't want to ruffle any feathers here if there are project managers on the line, but obviously the job of a project manager is extremely important for a project. It ensures it runs smoothly, on budget, efficiently, etc. Generally, a project manager, in my experience, is engaged once a project is already on foot. So you've already done your feasibility, you've acquired the land, you engage that project manager to work through to execute essentially your project. Now, in the accountant world, I believe that we can have just as much of an influence as a project manager on the profitability of a project if we are engaged early in the process, and held all the way through. Now, key areas that come to mind where I guess their value is in the feasibility. So we can assist as a second set of eyes for your feaso, so to work out, yes, is it viable, is it not viable, have you missed anything, can you even afford that project manager that you're proposing? We can assist you with preparing your cash flows to work out your cash pinch points and strains and timing. Structuring. So look, if you get your structure wrong from the get-go, it could be very costly for you to rectify, i.e. you buy something in a wrong structure, you buy it in your personal name, but you're not happy with your risk profile and you want to put it into a corporate or a trust structure to complete your development, you'll end up paying double stamps, and no one wants to pay double stamps. We obviously can help you with finance, so suitable to your situation, of course. So that may be typical construction finance, drawdown facilities, debt versus equity analysis. The world's your oyster. And also on the back end, so we do the cleanup and accounts and taxation, et cetera, et cetera. So all of those areas, even individually, can make or break a project, in my view. Just the importance of having your accountant involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you say, like a project manager's job is to make sure that the project runs on time and to budget, potentially coming in under budget. And, that's their huge impact on the project as it is. But
fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas obviously on the accountant side, that financial, I mean, the reason developers are in the game is to make a profit. It's a business after all, and therefore, from a financial perspective, I think the accountant's going to have such a big impact on that structuring side, especially. And then running through the feasibilities and the cash flows with the developers, making sure that they've got the right amount of capital at the right time. So, man, exactly, I think you've covered my question too there, which is good. Which is kind of the usual reasons that developers would come to BDO seeking some assistance in terms of a high level. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, well, I mean, BDO is a full service accounting firm, so we've got 500 staff in Brisbane alone, so it's quite a big firm. But we definitely play more so in that medium tier space, medium to large space. But we assist with structuring, compliance, taxation, audits, and where I work and focus in is the feasibility and development finance area. So with debt advisory. So it really depends on the size and capability of the developer or the client as to what services suit best. So obviously, not every developer is going to require an audit. So it's only the 20 mil plus revenue, etc. But yeah, some clients or most clients engage multiple divisions of their firm.
Yeah. And so what would be some of the, I guess, in your experience, some of the common pitfalls you find when working with developer clients that you can share?
Yeah, good question. So I guess it's war story time, right? So I'll touch on each area of what we offer in our division. So in structuring, so that's normally our business, just business section essentially within the firm. Structuring, right? So using the wrong structure, as I touched on, risk versus tax. So you obviously don't want to be paying too much tax, but you also don't want to be risking your personal name and doing a project in your personal capacity if you can avoid it. So just in case something goes wrong. Again, double stamp duty to get it into the right structure. You don't want to be paying that. Compliance. So one of the biggest ones we see is clients or developers mixing personal and business expenditure. I know that it can be blurred in some instances, but 101 is just to record it separately, create a separate bank account. It makes reconciliation and splitting so much easier because it's just done for you. You just know to use a separate card in your wallet for anything that you're paying on development account versus your groceries. And then, that will save a lot of issues, kind of compliance time. Taxation. So I'll focus on GST here. So GST wise, we see a lot of clients where you can choose, right? You can choose your GST reporting, whether it's monthly or quarterly. I'd always recommend you opt into monthly reporting because that's going to get you your GST refunds quicker throughout your construction phase, et cetera, because no one wants to wait 3 months through construction for a GST refund. Yes, it's going to be chunky, but you want that constant cash flow. And then not electing to use the margin scheme where it's applicable, so already eligible. We've seen plenty of clients, they pay essentially GST on the full tote of the project rather than electing to, and this is on properties where they buy with no input GST. So residential property that you're converting to new residential, so existing residential, for instance, where you won't pay GST on the acquisition, and you won't receive then the benefit of not paying that, if you know what I mean. Because with the margin scheme, you only pay GST on your profit margin, which is key in those instances. Otherwise, you're paying way too much GST. Feasibility, what we see, or what I've seen with some clients is just no contingency. They expect the project's going to run without any issues, which generally never happens. So, rule of thumb, I like to play by is a 10% uplift on your construction costs, holding costs, and contractor costs. Some of those overlap, obviously, but that gives you a bit of a buffer on your project. So, I guess a recent example of where a contingency would have been really handy is if you had purchased a property, you've done all your fees, you expected building costs to be X amount, but due to the timber supply shortage and COVID, your building costs are Y, and you've got no contingency, and you really relied by the seat of your pants to try and get through a project, and you're stuck with it where your costs have just blown out. So contingency would have soaked up a good chunk of that. Again, so this is another form of contingency, but profit margin, you generally don't want to be aiming for anywhere under 15% profit. Now, this is essentially your risk margin as well. If your margin's too low, you should adjust your purchase price for the property that you're looking to acquire or find a new property. And also on top of that, banks, as part of their metrics, they look at a 15 to 20% profit margin there. So if it doesn't stack up for them, you're not going to get finance. And finally, development finance. Now, two quickest ways, and what we see with some clients when they come to us after the fact is two quickest ways for a financier to lose confidence in your project is A, getting the feasibility wrong. So banks are always going to discount your feasibility to a degree, but you don't want them picking up simple errors because they'll just write you off. And then getting your cash flow wrong. So you've got through your feasibility, you've got your finance, but you work out that your finance is not enough to get you through those pinch points. And you never want to be going back. Well, by choice, you never want to be going back asking for more money because you may or may not receive it from the bank. So obviously we can help you in all those areas so that you don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah, you really covered the broad spectrum there from start to finish of the development. But yeah, as you say, like BDO always, or accounting firms in general can have that advice and that impact on a development at any point in time. But I guess it's just staying ahead of it and engaging them at the start as opposed to when there's an issue, because it's not always the fact that they can dig you out of it.
Exactly. Can't always dig you out of it. Exactly.
So I mean, broadly, you raised a few then, but broadly, what are some trends or strategies that you're seeing some developers at the moment that are gaining that advantage? Is there a few that really stand out?
Look, I'll go through a couple. So pricing tools, RP data access is always good. So we always recommend, if you can get it. I understand that it's meant to be for real estate agents only, and et cetera, et cetera. But RP data and having access to that is always a good source of having up-to-date, reliable price information in whatever areas that you're looking to buy in. So always recommend that the developer would look into that. Feasibility tools, obviously the likes of Aprao. So anything that makes your life easier and a chance of less calculation errors in what you're preparing and being able to rely on is always a good thing. So the Aprao software, good plug for that. Cloud accounting, so Xero and Mild, obviously we've come a long way since just those static files on your computer, where you have to send either the whole file by email or send it by USB or floppy disk even. Cloud accounting is so good. So we can get live access to clients' data and start pulling information to get a head start on what they're actually doing or where they're sitting. So, if you haven't got cloud accounting already, get on board. And then we've seen, I guess, some clients have been adapting to changing environments of demand. So one example is we've seen some of our developer clients building new houses that are smaller because, look, families these days, with all the green parks and spaces around, don't require all those big backyards. I mean, it's a want, not a need, right? So you can build nice houses on small lots and still make good profit. But also on the flip side, we're seeing some of our clients build larger apartments that appeal to people. It's that quasi middle house, apartment townhouse. Like they're all merging to kind of houses smaller, apartments larger. And I think the main crux of that for them is they're trying to battle some of the new green space requirements from council, where, say, if you have a 5-pack or a 6-pack, you have to have X amount of green space, which has increased over the last couple of years compared to where it previously was. So if you build 3 townhouses instead of 5 townhouses on the same patch of land, you don't have to have that green space that you would have to have if you built 5. So that's the way I've been getting around it. But obviously your fees have still got to stack up to make that worthwhile, and you got to pick the right area, the right market for people wanting bigger townhouses, I guess. Another one we've seen is use of, I guess, quality materials, yet cheaper materials and different building processes. So the likes of using a waffle pod slab compared to a normal, just standard concrete slab. So it saves on a lot of concrete and costs there, especially if you are doing a concrete heavy project. And then obviously 101, leverage off the professionals around you, so accountants and other advisors.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I think, as you say, it's about shoring up the assumptions at the start and doing your research into RP data and stuff like that, getting your data correct, and then managing that process as efficiently as possible and cutting out costs. I mean, a lot of innovation out there in the construction world as well, in reducing costs or tracking materials to site. Helping developers reduce their costs as well.
If you can get materials, that is.
If you can get materials at the moment, yeah. Correct, yes. Mate, so I mean, just quickly, because I know that it might be another bit of a case study here, but we've previously spoken about your personal development, and maybe you sort of touched on it there with the townhouse example. But how is that going? Are there any tips out there from I guess that small perspective, just quickly?
Yeah, so we after giving advice on construction for a period of time, I've finally jumped in and decided to take a look at it myself. So we bit of background. We bought a patch of dirt. We did make the mistake, but it's actually worked out for us of buying a personal name, but we couldn't afford it at the time. So There was no way of getting around double stamp duty, so it just happened to be that we had to buy their personal names. But the tips would be, look, everything takes longer than you expect. It took us the best part of 12 months to get our DA submitted and approved when we had budgeted on 3 to 6 months. The amount of requests for info for council that was impact accessible, so we were trying to go outside the box and to be innovative, if you know what I mean. Council didn't like that, so it required a lot of submissions and backs and forwards with council to get up what we wanted to achieve. The next thing is mistakes happen. They always happen. So building a contingency. Our contingency has helped us with our increased holding costs. I guess a little bit of luck here, but property prices have increased as well, which has obviously absorbed a lot of the holding costs. So, good news for us, but that's not always going to happen for every project. And then another one, and probably really important one, other than the accountant, is to get yourself a good town planner. Because if you are doing something a little bit outside the box, they can be your first cut of sense check and work through it with you and work out whether, okay, does council have an appetite for this, or would council not have an appetite for this? This is going to cost you X amount of dollars just based on their experience, and they could save you a heap of dollars before you go out and spend a lot of money going down a rabbit hole, which doesn't ultimately work out for you. But yeah, otherwise, project's going great. Apart from that increased holding costs, and we're looking to hit the market while it's hot, which is great. So if anyone's after a 322 townhouse in Hurston, let me know.
Nice one. Yeah, no, I think it's valuable, right? Like I think you touched on it there, whether from the small scale all the way up to the sort of the bigger guys, that DA process, it's for sure something that you really need a budget and allocate enough time to, but then also the considerations around how that impacts the FISO from a holding cost perspective and so your cost
it's just
as well.
It's just such an unknown. So it's an unknown quantity unless you have a link into council or a friend at council or someone that you know in council. Even then, like you just get appointed a team, and that team may or may not respond to you in a timely manner. So it's just completely on council and in their court most times to come back to you, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah. So mate, zooming back out a little bit, what effect, for better or worse, has innovation had on your operations?
So I'll break this down. So professionally, cloud accounting, again, I know it's old now, but that's had the biggest impact on our industry. So I truly believe that without cloud accounting, it's still very archaic. Back in with USBs and waiting for client data to come across. I know you can send it by email and Dropbox and whatever else these days, but just having that live access and input into a client's financials just means that we're able to provide timely and concise advice real time. Another one, Google Sheets, again, late to the party here with that, but very handy. Just allows multiple people, obviously, to jump in the same spreadsheet. You can show them what you're working on live as well and work through it with them rather than just presenting. Both people can actually input data, which is great. Personally, now I love smart home functionality, and I know I'm talking about all old things here that are five years old, at least 10 years old. But yes, we've finally moved into a house now. We've got a little bit of smart home functionality, which is great. But we've worked out quite quickly that internet is key to have it working, because getting the NBN, another gripe of mine, to connect your house takes time. So we've been waiting 2 months to have internet, and unfortunately, the home's not alive yet. But I guess on the flip side then of technology and innovation, for my mobile phones, the improved functionality with emails is actually a bad thing for me, because it just means that you're never offline. You're always checking emails. You're always there to respond. It's good for clients, don't get me wrong. It's really good. But you have to turn the phone off to get away from it.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. I mean, as you say, I think at the start there, the cloud accounting, and then you mentioned the Google Sheets, which is essentially a form of Excel in the cloud. It is that cloud, and I think it's that collaboration between people and being able to work on real-time data and real-time models or whatever it may be, similar to Aprao, which exists on the cloud, so everyone can access it whenever they want from wherever they want, as long as you have internet. which I guess is a utility these days. So is there sort of one or two examples of integrations on the professional side that you've trialed, and what issues that you were trying to solve for?
Yeah, so recently we use project boards. So I know project boards can be Microsoft Teams, can be anywhere, and a special or specific software for project boards these days as well. But again, probably late to the party, but used one for the first time during COVID. So everyone's working from home, right? So you can't have those regular meetings physically. We're engaged by the Queensland government to review grants and loans on their behalf to fast track the process of getting money out to those in need. So we used it specifically for that review process and tracking where we're up to with reviewing loans and where they're up to with certain stages of assessing the eligibility. So it really helped us in, I guess, bringing that together and brought us all together to I guess, meet that deliverable and tasks efficiently. And obviously Aprao. So recently trialed Aprao. It's been great for clients' feasibility. Very impressed with the software. So the key thing was, for us, it helped kink out some of the high level calculation issues in our clients' feasibility. So after I plugged all the data in with the help of Julian, which was very, very helpful. So he went out of his way to assist us through that process and gave me tips on the run. It just really helped our client just iron out anything that he hadn't thought of, because all of the calculations are set, fixed, click of a button, and you can trust it.
Yeah, I think, as you say, it did. I mean, from an Aprao standpoint, I know that's how obviously we got connected, but it is about providing that cloud-based model that people can jump into, and everyone works off the same sort of, I guess, space. In the development world, you don't want to take the art away from it. That's the secret sauce for a lot of developers, but there is a bit of science, and if we can automate that science and make sure that at the end of the day you're looking to get to a return on cost or a profit or whatever it is, that hurdle rate that you're trying to achieve, how you get there is where innovation can help and can make your assumptions more robust through data, and it can make that a much more efficient process. So yeah, hopefully we can continue to provide you guys at BDO and your clients a bit more structure and assistance on the feasibility side.
Yeah, most definitely. Sorry, just on that. I mean, we get from our clients, we get a whole range of different feasibilities, and like always they're in Excel, but you just don't know. You got to start from top down, work out whether all their calculations are correct, and then like Aprao just saves a lot of time in that respect. You can just plug in building costs, expand them out over a certain period of time, the interest rates, all the rest of it, and not have to worry about the actual background, whether those calculations are calculated correctly, if you know what I mean. So this plus this equals this, where our clients use a takeaway instead of a plus. So it's just a much quicker way to get where you want to get to with your feasibility.
Yeah, that integrity of the data, you can't break Aprao. Spreadsheets are notorious for I guess getting the wrong version and stuffing up one cell. But Matt, as we get close to the end and sort of wrap up, I mean, you've worked across such a wide range of services, for varying clients. I mean, why do you think innovation or the constant search for improvements is so essential for everyone?
Yeah, so my view on a bit of innovation, and I think it's global view, is the main goal is to improve efficiency, right? So to gain that competitive edge and use it to your advantage. So look, taking it back to development again, efficiency from its perspective is more time equals more profits equals more projects, if you know what I mean. So, I say profits, but potentially. I say that with, definitely 66 and 99 around. But, it allows you to do more in less time. Look, I think generally developers can do more on the innovation front. And I'm hoping that with the announcement of the Olympics, that's going to, I guess, push us along a little bit, because there is going to be a lot of competition for those infrastructure projects. There's going to be a lot of competition for land. People are obviously looking at doing the long play now, saying to buy and hold. And developers, if you're looking at the short play, whether that's going to be your better option. But look, I don't know how it's all going to pan out. Time will tell. But I think with the Olympics announcement, there's definitely going to be a push on innovation because it's going to be a hot market.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at this point in the market, as you say, it's a very hot one, and you're fighting for that extra 1, 2, 3%. And you can only lay so many bricks a day. You can only do so much with the old school methods, and therefore your advantage is going to come from innovation. Whether that's technology or whatever it may be, that's how you're going to gain the upper hand. So, I mean, I'm just checking the questions from the audience. We don't have any at the moment. If you do, for those attending, have any questions, please feel free to throw it in the chat. So as we wait for any questions to potentially come through, Jayden, if people want to reach out to you, get in touch with you or BDO, what's the best way to do so?
Email, so just jayden.coulston@bdo.com.au. I'm sure that'll be on the link somewhere. LinkedIn, if you wish. Otherwise, phone. I'll stop short of putting my Snapchat, Facebook up, but any of those methods is fine.
Perfect. All right, mate. It seems like everyone's quite quiet today's lunch, so I'll take this opportunity to say thank you, everyone, for your time, and Jayden, thank you very much, mate, for joining us today and giving us those few insights. So as we bring together more leaders and from within the development ecosystem, please reach out to us directly if you have any topics or people you'd like us to discuss with. But until next time, take care.
Thanks, Julian. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.